of my favorite companies, both as a customer and also a stock. Airbnb just reported its first quarter as a publicly traded company. Well, this was a remarkable set of numbers. Much strongly expected sales. Good guidance for the current quarter. The stock's been having a rough time over the last couple of weeks and barely reacting to this great news. It could be a buying opportunity. Let's take a closer look with Brian Chesky, the co-founder, chairman, CEO of Airbnb. Mr. Chesky, welcome back to Mad Money.
Thank you very much for having me back, Jim.
Brian, what can I tell you? You did a conference call that has got more ideas popping in my head, but I'm going to just start with some that I thought were amazing. Travel. What are we thinking about? It's going to be, well, where you go and much more about who you are and what you can do together. Who you are, what you do together means no hotel, means Airbnb.
Well, yeah, one of the things we did is we did a survey of American travelers, and they told us two things. First, they said they miss traveling and they want to travel as soon as it's safe to do so. But they told us another thing. They said they don't miss all travel. They don't miss business travel. They don't miss standing in lines with selfie sticks in front of landmarks. They wanted to spend time with their friends or family. And when you spend time with friends and family, often a home is great. You don't have to separate in different parts of the room, different rooms, and go to a lobby. You can have a whole home to yourself. And we think a lot of travel is going to be to smaller cities because people are going to get in cars and travel nearby.
Another thing that I thought was amazing. My daughter takes 3-day weekends in Spain all the time, Airbnb. I thought she was the only one. 3-day weekends. This is another international concept that is playing Airbnb's hand.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, Jim, we're seeing is the lines between traveling and living are starting to blur together. And so people aren't just using Airbnb to travel, they're living on Airbnb now, because if you can work via Zoom, you can kind of work anywhere. You don't just have to work in your own home. And so a lot of people are getting Airbnbs. If it's cold in the winter and they don't want to be in the cold weather, some people are getting Airbnbs in warm weather. Some people are realizing I can have a 3-day weekend every weekend. Other people are saying, I want to live a different house every month. It's really, the sky's the limit. You know, we really are adaptive and resilient to any kind of travel behaviors. That's what we learned last year.
At the same time, obviously, we're numbers people, too. The leverage in your model, I didn't know could possibly be as great as it was. I was thinking you were going to lose $250 million. You lost a tenth of that. The leverage is extraordinary. Did you know that when you started this company?
No, I mean, I didn't know very much when I started this company. I was just turned 26 years old. My parents are social workers. I went to art school. So no, but what we've learned over the last decade and more is that we have a capital light model that's a global network business that has low fixed cost, and we can adapt to travel patterns. And I think one of the things, Jim, you saw was in a pandemic, when most of the travel industry was pretty decimated, we actually were more profitable on an adjusted EBITDA basis in 2020 than 2019. As you said, we lost $250 million in adjusted EBITDA basis in 2019 and only about $21 million in 2020.
Yeah, people should look at Marriott versus this. You'll understand why this has twice the value of Marriott, because it should. Now, here's something that I thought was incredible. A February 8th, 2021 note to the Securities and Exchange Commission. You believe in democracy of capitalism. You want to give people who work with you, hosts, made possible by hosts, stock. Tell us about this. This is a dream come true for me.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, Jim, that we did is we always felt like our host helped us build Airbnb, and we wanted to own a piece of Airbnb. So we did a couple things. The first thing we did was we created an Airbnb host endowment. We took 9.2 million shares of Airbnb stock, and we put it into an endowment. It's going to work like a college endowment where it's going to grow every year, but then we're going to take some of the upside from the principal and distribute it back to the host community. We created a 17-member host advisory board from 14 different countries around the world to help us advise on what to do with this endowment. We also created a directed share program. We had thousands of hosts participate in the IPO. And as you can imagine, with the stock price more than doubling, they've done quite well as well. And I've committed to putting in more than $100 million of my own stock into this endowment. I think the idea basically is our hosts are our partners, and we want them to share in our success now and for as long as Airbnb exists.
That's how you really do become a great long-term company. You're doing something else. First time, 5 years. Made possible by hosts, global campaign. I think it's by word of mouth. You really need to actually even do more than that. I mean, because I know millions of people are hosts.
Yeah, we don't need to do any marketing to continue to grow the business. But we did think of this as more like a brand investment. Okay. And it wasn't an investment just in the idea of Airbnb. I mean, people all over the world have heard the name Airbnb. It was really about our host. We want people to know, as travel's about to rebound, that when you book on Airbnb, you get a host that will make sure your stay is personalized and you're having a great experience. And we want even more people to know that hosting is a great alternative for them, because a lot of people are going through life changes. Life changes, there are times when people become hosts, and we think this is a great opportunity for us. But we also, to make no mistake, we are never going back to spending the same amount of money on marketing as a percent of revenue you did in 2019. What the pandemic showed is that we could take marketing down to zero and still have 95% of the same traffic as the year before. So we're not going to forget that lesson.
The last thing, there was a great line that you said, we hate mass tourism. And yet that's what we did before the pandemic. We're not going back, are we? We're not going back to mass tourism.
Well, we did a survey of American travelers. It was a representative and statistically significant survey. And we found that the travel that people miss the least is business travel. The next travel they miss the least is mass travel. Mass travel as in getting in double-decker buses, going to big tourist districts, going and waiting in long lines where you're either alone or in line, looking at something like behind a flood of selfie sticks. Like, I don't think that travel is over. I just don't think that's the travel people miss. What people miss is actually just spending meaningful time with the people they care about. And that's what we're focused on. And that's the travel that I think is going to come back in full force.
And that's why we love going to Airbnb. I mean, I didn't even talk about the fact that
if you want to be with your family, a home is a great place to do that.
That it's the greatest bargain. And I don't know a soul who doesn't feel that way, frankly. That's why I think the stock's been so great. And Brian has been, even in the darkest moments, Brian believed. And wow, is this thing something? The leverage in this model. Brian Chesky, co-founder, chairman, CEO of Airbnb. Congratulations on the great quarter, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you for having me on.
Mad Money's back in.